My producer Scott raised the prices to make these. Looks like you may have to pay more to watch them. Let's get to it. Welcome. Another fabulous episode of IVF On Demand. I'm your price-sensitive, or maybe just sensitive host, Eric Wilson. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. I said you can also find me at LinkedIn and YouTube and wherever you get this podcast. And soon, we're actually going to be on TikTok. Not this, but another handle, Planfluence. You can find on TikTok. You can find on Instagram. You can actually find on LinkedIn. So check out Planfluence, all one word. And check out those handles on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we're going to do a lot of short form and all those contents as well. You can actually find that same over on YouTube as well. It's going to be a new channel on YouTube. So Planfluence, check it out. I want to thank our sponsor. We couldn't do these without our sponsor. So Arkiva, because prices are going up. You're not paying us enough. So we got to come to these sponsors. So check out the sponsor and support them as well. Arkiva, driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. So thank you very much, our sponsor. Prices are rising. Consumers are reacting. And planners, well, we're just stuck in the middle trying to model behavior that doesn't follow any of the rules anymore. I mean, there's many signs that point there will be price increases. I know we can go back and forth, but a lot of signs are pointing that prices are going to have to go up. Working with a lot of companies, I go to talk to a lot of companies, and they're reaching out to me now because of all the chaos. I'm actively working on strategic price increases with them or how to manage the impacts. And right now, on average, we're seeing 15% or more, sometimes 20 or even up to 30% increases in some of the prices. Some of these companies have already taken a couple of the price increases incrementally and are going to be taking more. And as I said before, that the models that typically most of these companies are looking at is for every 1% increase in price, it's about a 0.06% decrease in volume. So you do the math, it's going to be about a 15% decrease in sales then as well. So today, though, we're going to be digging into price elasticity. What exactly are in those models? Price elasticity, substitution models, what it means to plan when even the most loyal customers might just get hit and pause. That's the reason I'm bringing in today's guest, Stephen. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran who studied aviation and marketing management while serving as a crew chief of a KC-135. He held sales and buying roles at Amazon, then go-to-market operations at Starbucks and merchandising at Nordstrom's. He's now a senior demand manager at T-Mobile. Stephen is a community-focused veteran. He built Blue Nexus to help small businesses apply leading best practice. Please help me welcome Stephen. So welcome, Stephen. I'm glad I could have you on. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yes, I had a really good time in the last town hall we had a few days ago. I'm really happy you reached out to follow up. I know we're going to see you and the majority of the other network coming up in October. You know, we do the conference down in Orlando. And so this is a good opportunity to start that series of different topics within IVP and s&op.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier, too, than being a crew chief on one of them big old refueling planes. I'm sure the logistics nightmare from that one.
Yeah, back in my Air Force days, you never knew what was going to happen. We was overseas support as well, too. Operation Southern Watch, Northern Watch, 9/11 as well, too. Yeah. But it's, I won't say demand planning is getting less predictable. More predictable. But it definitely prepared me to be resilient, that's for sure.
Well, I appreciate your service you had for us.
Thank you.
So getting into this, we want to talk about price elasticity and exactly what it is and kind of unpack that a little bit. So I'll start with that. What are the ways that price actually impact consumer decisions?
Well, you've got free trade, and every organization is trying to increase their share from the marketplace. But you're also trying to cater a product to a certain demographic of consumers as well too. And when you try to dial in those pricings, it's going to have an impact on customer choice. But aside of that, there is a lot of, I want to say, ancillary and adjacent type of components that impact your pricing in terms of the elasticity model. Really depends on your product, where it is in its life cycle, and where you are as a company. For example, as a new product, NPI, where you're trying to test the waters in terms of you're entering new, you're not doing a replenishment or excuse me, a repeat, or you're trying to take over market share as well too, um, and you're willing to sacrifice and go for lower price points. And then you have some models that are saying, hey, we're going to start off high premium, the inverted pyramid, and then eventually open it up by lowering that price point, start growing the scale of your marketplace that you're playing within as well. So it really has an impact on customer decisions. Uh, Economy can drive some substitution or some alternative decisions as well too when it comes to price elasticity, um, and sometimes the seasonality of when you decide to do it. Traditionally, October, for example, some categories is a really slow month. It's after back to school season, but right before holidays, you really don't see a lot of hype and demand of new products coming out. And then, say, like February and March, where a lot of consumers are paying bills from holiday to holiday hangover effect. And so you really may not see a big impact from a pricing change strategy. So it really depends on the category, the time of year, where you at in your product life cycle, your business process as well too. And it's not a one size fits all, that's for sure.
So you need to understand your business, your drivers, to where you understand the impact of pricing to
Absolutely.
it. Now,
Yes.
one of the things you just mentioned, and you mentioned this in the town hall as well, and I liked when you're looking at pricing, as you increase your pricing, yes, someone can stop buying or start buying if you lower your prices. I mean, we can impact people buying or not buying. But you just
Correct.
brought up as well substitutions and alternatives. And I don't know if we look at that enough. Expand upon that a little bit.
Well, when you're a company or a brand new brand, uh, you're not just competing within your adjacent competitors. You know, you're looking at that customer's discretionary funds and what they may choose to spend those funds on. Um, let's say, for example, it's a Friday night or Saturday night. You want to go out with your family, correct? And we may choose to go out to dinner, gastro industry. You may decide to go out to a movie, entertainment, or you may decide to go out to a bar or a pub, which is more social, dancing, live music. Now, those three categories don't necessarily compete with each other, but they are all competing for the same common denominator is that person's time, a couple hours in the evening time, and likely if you're going out you and your wife or your kids, that very well could be anywhere from 100 to $300, depending on your activities. So you're competing for that person's time and money in terms of entertainment and what to do. Now, traditionally, a restaurant is not going to be competing with a bar, and a movie theater is not going to be competing with Red Lobster, if I should bring up an old throwback, right? It's not around anymore. But I think, and this is the path that I'm going down personally, is kind of merging strategy with demand planning. And when you understand how consumers are altering and shifting and looking at, we've probably heard this term, blue oceans, where they're untapped, uncontested marketplace for demand, you see some new opportunities. And then with that, consumers are going to shift how they are using their time and where they're going to put their funding. It may not matter that you bring your price point down. I like doing case studies. I think one of the best ones that I've seen as an example recently. Have you ever heard of Cinnabar?
No.
You see, Cinnabar is really popular here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm up here in Seattle. So Cinnabar took a look at this. They were a basic movie theater, and they said, "Hey, how can we actually differentiate?" You take a look at the value curve of where we are. For example, like T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, we're going to be huddled together on this value curve of value and performance, right? But how do you differentiate? How do you get away from the rest of the pack that gives you a increased type of value? So Cinemark thought about that, and on their strategy canvas, they went down the path of saying, well, how about we just bring them all together? So, Eric, you can actually go to a movie, get a nice cold beverage, a beer, watch the newest, I don't know, Transformers, and have a good meal, pizza, chicken strips, club sandwich. It's a really good experience. And you bring everything at once. I don't have to decide if I'm going to go to the movies or go get something to eat on a Friday night with my wife. I don't have to decide, do we got to go to get dinner? Do we go out to drinks afterwards? It's all there. Now, I may have saw the same Transformers 3 times before I figured out John Malkovich was in the movie. But the whole point is it was an alternative, right? It wasn't a substitution to our favorite restaurant, Toscano's we like to go to. It wasn't a substitution because I could have just gone to a different restaurant. But it was an alternative, and it was a blue ocean category that was popped up, and that's what got it. And so I think that's applicable across many industries, not just entertainment, not just wireless as well to different brands, say from Samsung to uh, Google or Apple. Um, but having the alternatives, and as we start thinking about influences on demand, hey, how come our sales are down lower? What's driving to be increased as well too? Got to be mindful of adjacencies that consumers are considering and sometimes foregoing and saying, you know what, the price point's getting too high here. I'm going to shift to this alternative. And then, of course, you have your substitutes within the same category.
Alrighty. Well, by the way, my choice is going to be the restaurant, but that's just me. So. You mentioned those alternatives then and substitutes. I mean, those are external or to outside of your four walls.
Yes.
And I'm assuming those could really be external based on other. I mean, if you have back to school, you may be spending your money on back to school instead of,
Oh, yes.
the new outfit or something or the new phone
100%.
that you're getting. So, I
100%.
mean, you really have to look at things as a macro as well as those other influences, as well as the internal type of price elasticity. So price elasticity has a lot of different components, is what it's sounding like.
Hmm. It does. The other example we saw, um, I want to say it was the end of last year. End of the year, the automotive industry typically tries to do those last push to get rid of their overhang, or they don't want overhang models, right? And I think because of policy, I'm just going to put that in the bubble over here, and other factors in terms of, hey, we're going to more electrification. A lot of companies are trying to say, hey, we want to be on board with this, and they're getting funding and they're getting concessions to drive the majority of their lineup there. But the demand was not there for it. I think the infrastructure was a little bit premature, not ready yet, and affordability. That was another hurdle as well too. So speaking on that affordability, you saw a lot of consumers started to, you saw a lot of OEMs start to lower, get back to those 1%, 2%, 0% APRs. Now, coming out of COVID, you really didn't see that too much because inflation was driving everything higher and higher and higher. And so for us, say for example, at T-Mobile, we're taking a look at, well, how come our demand for applications and new wireless, new activations is not what we want it to be, right? And what we were noticing was that, hey, look, you're competing with other, not just Verizon and AT&T, you're competing with other alternatives where consumers can be using their finances. That's what you're competing for. If you go to a cell phone company, you're gonna have to apply for, get approved for it, correct? Now, as a homeowner, you probably know that new adage. If you're trying to buy a home, don't go buy a new car at the same time because you don't want to have any impact on your credit that's going to give you the best rate possible, right? Or you could just be not approved at all. I'm not saying if you buy a cell phone, you're not going to get a car, but we're talking about a point where interest rates were like 7.5% as an average low, right? And so if that's subconsciously ingrained in us, hey, I actually want to get this new car, which is at a really good APR. A couple months ago, I was looking at 6%. Now I got a chance for 3%. I'm not saying I don't use a cell phone, but maybe right now, I'm not going to buy my phone. I'm going to do it later. And right now, for this month in Q4, the alternative is going to be I'm going to go buy a new car at a lower rate plan or at a lower APR, right? And then months down the road, 2 months, I get some funding built back up, then I'll go into another cell phone. So what we saw was a alternative category decision for consumers, and then it delayed that purchase. Eventually it came, it just didn't come in. So that had an impact on our seasonality due to external strategies and other categories going after consumer financing.
Wow. Okay. So I think we did a good job framing the problem. Look, and hopefully people are thinking of, I never thought about that, never thought about this piece. So that's kind of the goal of this is to get people thinking. So hopefully you're thinking
Yeah.
out there. Uh, now, give them some solutions. I mean, how do planners model? I mean, you came from Starbucks as one of, I think you were a Starbucks for a while as well. I mean, you have some loyal customers. I'm a Dunkin' guy, full disclosure. Uh, but they have some loyal customers. I think I just lost my other two, viewers because of that. How do you the $7 coffee versus economic pressures? How do you balance or model the loyal indulgence and economic pressures? How do you put those into a model?
There is not a model that's a one size fits all. And when we start getting into scenarios that have an impact on consumer decision that hasn't happened in the past before, like a causal event, COVID happened in the past. We can mark as a causal event. We know what to happen when a whole country has to shut down. Um, I think you mentioned coffee. Coffee doesn't really have a significant elasticity in terms of the price point. And so if you see the price point, you may see some substitution where instead of going to Starbucks and ordering that 7, 8, 9, $13 drink, maybe you start making it more at home yourself. And so you start seeing the at home type of substitution going on. I'll go buy the syrup, I'll go buy the sprinkles, I'll buy the cream, I'll do the whole thing at my own house by myself. That's an alter that is a choice for the customer to make. Um, I don't think all industries are going to have an impact in terms or respond the same in terms of price elasticity. For example, if coffee goes up 45 cents to a dollar, that's considered a commodity to some folks. Now, I also was at Nordstrom's. I think if collared shirt starts to go up, $15, $20 for the same shirt, you may see some impact there. You may see it go from Nordstrom. Maybe they start shopping more at Banana Republic, or maybe they also go from Banana Republic, start going to another alternate solution, right? Um, Fashion industry, I think, is going to be the first one that has an impact on price elasticity in terms of customers pulling back and saying, I'm going to forego what I would normally get. Um, and maybe settle for shopping later or go with a different brand. Um, but the other side of that is lowering the price point. So typically for us, we will see OEMs trying to lower their price point to sell through and avoid an overhang. How much of an uptick in demand does that create? When we see those increases in the past years, we'll apply it to our forecast model as well too, understanding it. We'll understand exactly the part of seasonality we're in, type of life cycle we're in as well too, what's going on. We're seeing another MPI, another product being launched as well too, cost of cannibalization. And we'll apply that and we'll have to course correct as we get, within a few weeks of the price change. But I think for the most part, it's pretty solid in terms of what you can expect after you've done it a few times. You have to take a look at those environmental factors and the influencing that was not present the time before. So it's not a one size fits all. You have neural networks, you've got econometrics, you've got machine learning or different scales across different categories. And I think it could yield some different results as well too. But the results are going to be based off of what's the constant. If you have variables that are constantly changing, you have to take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be a margin of error there.
You mentioned the technology and the AI. What role is technology playing in, price elasticity models, of demand sensing to be able to react better? Or is it just amplifying some of the bad assumptions we had? We really need to get those right first. I mean, how does it kind of play together?
Well, I won't say what you put into is what you're going to get out of it. So there's a lot of data cleanup. The veracity of data is going to become a significant point of interest, I would say, when programming your models to be more sensitive to price elasticity. So let's say, for example, we're both selling the same product. I decrease my price point by 20%. My demand goes up 80%, right? So the following year, when you and I are competitors in the marketplace, and I say, hey, I'm going to drop, I've programmed my model to now understand this, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to drop it 30% this time. And this time I want to see a 90% increase. But what the model does not know is that Eric was out of stock on his product. And so what it doesn't know is that, wait a minute, it's not going to be 90%. Customers are now going to have an optional alternative to my price point. And that's what you may see some brand loyalty as well too. Did I still market share? Like now people are really coming to me now because I decreased my price point? Or was it really substitution because Eric was out of the stock on his product for a period of time? Now, of course, we won't know that we're two different companies, but when you have the same, you're one company and you've got product A and product B, you have to be mindful of that. I have to be mindful, for example, if a Google product goes on sale, how's it going to impact it? A Motorola product. Well, was the Motorola product in stock 100% to have an equal playing field? Was the Motorola product at the end of its life cycle? Was it stocked out? Was it on a different type of offer that was going for a different customer base? Are these in the same price points as well too? We're talking about just because you lowered your price point, 20% on product A versus product B. So it's not a hit the button, set it, and let it go. You constantly have to be engaging with it, and that's the collaboration that goes along as well too. I'm making sure we're maintaining the storyline that's going into the technology that's spitting out the results for us.
Okay, but we're humans and we always end up overreacting. We are emotional
Yes.
creatures. So how do we avoid that emotional reaction or overreaction of doubling the forecast or slashing it the moment we see any kind of dip, or listening to a headline or the newest policy and trying to react to it without knowing exactly what it's going to do? How do we tamper the emotions then?
Well, take a look at what's within your control and what's not in your control. Take a look at what changes that you do today is going to be actually impactful down in the immediate future. So let's say I'll pick on Google. Okay. Google just launched their new product that came out last week. And let's say our forecast was wildly, not wildly, but moderately off. Let's say demand came in, you know, 40% more than we were expecting, or somewhere between 20 and 40% over what we were expecting the first few days. If we have a knee jerk reaction and just say, we're going to raise our forecast up 40%, wait a minute, that's just based off of the first few days. What's inflaming that right now? Well, a lot of consumers are doing back to school season early right now. A lot of consumers are shopping early out of fear of tariffs going to be raising prices on consumer electronics. A lot of consumers are thinking that's going to snowball into like the COVID era where suppliers are going to be depleted. They're not going to have, they want to get it now while they can and while the price is low, right? So, not having a knee jerk reaction really could help us when we take a look at what's within our control and what's driving this. And it doesn't matter if I raise my forecast up, 30, 40%. If Google tells me this is all the supplies we have to give you within the next 30 days, and their launch window, for example, could be 30 days, what is driving up that going to do? It's not going to do anything to increase your forecast. Well, actually, it will, because once you drive up your forecast, it goes to a PO, and then you get a bullwhip effect, right? And so it doesn't pay to have a knee jerk reaction and be overly sensitive and ratchet up or ratchet down. And I've seen other scenarios, other organizations where, hey, demand came in super soft what we were forecasting. All right, go back down the list again. How did things go and go to market? Was something missed? Were all the demos up? Did we get comms go out? Was communication to consumers, right? So if there was anything that has significant impact on demand that was missed or underperforming, right, and we slashed our forecast, we were missing opportunity there to serve the customer. So it goes both ways, and I highly
It
encourage
does.
organizations and team members to do the research, do all the system checks, just like those KC-135s I was on, to see exactly what's keeping the flow, meeting your expectations, and then see what's within your control. Communicate, cross-functionally communicate, right, and then take action.
I think a little bit of that is advice that I think people can carry into what's happening now. But I got time for one final short response. But there's a lot of people dealing with the pricing. They need to increase prices now. They're seeing, impacts of tariffs or just the market. So they're trying to figure out right now as they're watching this, it's the reason they tuned in, what's the one thing they should be looking at or one thing they should do. So what's that piece of advice? What's the one thing they should be looking at, the one thing they should do?
Oof, okay. We're all in this boat right now. I would probably say bring in supplies that's within your capability, one, and demand shape to where you feel confident where your product is going to be going to as well too. Understand the substitution within your own portfolio and lean into those alternatives. If you have the capacity, that's the other thing. If you have the capacity to hold on to incremental extra inventories, yeah, your days of sales may be going up. Some of your metrics may be increasing. But at the same time, you can be able to serve the customer and be more competitive.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. I hope to see you in Orlando. I definitely going to see you around. Appreciate this.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me, Eric. Appreciate it.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you got as much out of that as I did. It was a great guest. I knew he'd be a phenomenal guest on this topic. Use real-time customer insights, loyalty programs, different types of data you'd have from the consumer, app management that you have, promo redemption. Use those to help tune your elasticity models. Build scenario-based plans to reflect both the elasticity and the high elastic responses that may occur. Look at both. Encourage cross-functional collaboration. You don't have to do this in a silo. Bring in sales, bring in finance, bring in marketing. Work with them on pricing strategies, not just reactionary of what's occurring in the market and what you need to do. And don't just plan for the prices to go up. Plan for how the consumers may respond. Elasticity isn't a constant. It's a conversation. As consumer habits evolve faster than ever, planners have to build flexible models, challenge old assumptions, and get comfortable with the uncertainty that we're seeing or going to see. Because pricing is a strategy, and demand planning is where that strategy meets the reality. And most important, going old school, stay calm and plan on. Oh, that's a wrap. I'm going to go figure out exactly what this price increase from Scott, my producer, means to all of us. My name is Eric. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. I want to thank our sponsor, Arkiva, driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. And as I said, I do have a new project. No surprise there. I'm always working on something. Give me free time. I'm going to start filling it with something. But this is a great new project. The best way you can find this information, I said, go out, find some other social media handles. We're actually on TikTok, Planfluence on TikTok. Find me on Instagram, Planfluence. Find us on on YouTube, and find us on LinkedIn as well. So check out those social media. You'll find more about that. It's going to be shorter, bite-sized information. I'm going to be supporting Amy, who's going to be having a podcast there as well. But also, I'm looking for other content creators. So if you want to be a Planfluencer, you're young, you're social media savage, because we're not. I'm looking for you. Slide into my DMs and let me know you're interested, and I'll get back with you on that one as well. And remember, as always, in closing any of these, don't forget, wash your hands.